Bizarre and downright science fiction technologies that never went mainstream in cars. Gullwing doors. Gullwing doors have been around for decades, and as much as car makers like Mercedes, DeLorean, Gumpert, and Tesla have tried to make them a thing, there are too many drawbacks such as safety in a rollover crash or exiting from a tight space. The Tesla Model X's Falcon doors go some way to addressing that, but given the fact that their complexity contributed to the car's lengthy delay in reaching market, we doubt other manufacturers will be falling over themselves to fit them to their cars. Turbine engines. The biggest turbine car pioneer was Chrysler in the 50s and 60s. That is, until the government pulled the plug on the program after it gave the manufacturer money to survive. The issues it was trying to overcome at the time included high fuel usage, the fact that they were expensive to make, and that throttle response was too slow. With Chrysler no longer working to overcome these drawbacks and no other manufacturers taking turbine engines seriously, the technology remained the reserve of science fiction futures. Bose suspension. Bose, the company that designs and sells audio equipment, came up with an incredible electromagnetic suspension technology that kept the car perfectly level, almost as if it were flying above the ground, no matter the road surface. It was a breakthrough in car comfort, but a commercial failure because the system was too heavy and too expensive for commercial viability. Parts of the technology did benefit truckers, however, thanks to Bose Ride that was installed in their seats for added comfort. Small electric inner city transport. This is epitomized by the Sinclair C5. The idea was to create a small electric alternative to driving a car, an idea that is arguably more relevant today than ever before, but one which has never really caught on. The problem with the C5 was that it was barely any more useful than a bicycle, and at around £900 in today's money, a lot more expensive. It was just as unsafe as a bike too, offered no extra weatherproofing, and also had terrible range and a fast-draining battery. All but the range problem could still be levied at the Renault Twizy, probably the best example of such a vehicle today. Now sure, the Twizy is fun and all, but when you consider that they're too wide for lane splitting and the fact that they cost nearly £7,000 new, they're hard to justify. If this sort of thing is ever going to take off, the price needs to come down drastically. Rocket brakes. Rockets? For brakes? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out why this one didn't catch on, but early tests found that they offered an impressive 2G of stopping force. The downside? In the event of a fire, the propellant would burn as fast as several gallons of petrol, which isn't ideal. Unsurprisingly, disc brakes were considered a little less risky. Steam engines. When you think of steam engines, you probably think of trains, but you might be surprised to learn that in the early days of the automobile, steam and fossil fuel-powered engines were neck and neck to become the norm. The main issues with steam engines were the fact that they were big, heavy, and slow. Internal combustion engines, by contrast, were smaller and easier to maintain, so the steam thing never really caught on once cars entered mass production. Flying cars. One of science's biggest betrayals is not making flying cars a reality. We've been teased with the idea of being able to cruise the skies in our cars for decades, and the first attempt at something vaguely viable came in 1926, when Henry Ford attempted to build a small, single-seat aeroplane. He abandoned this idea a couple of years later, however, when a pilot died during a test flight. The closest we've come so far is the Aeromobile 3.0, which can be driven like a car on the road, but can easily spread its wings and fly. Still, it doesn't exactly blend in with normal traffic. The Tucker Safety Windshield. Concerned that when car passengers were launched through the windscreen in a crash, the Tucker 48 had a rather unique safety feature, a detachable windscreen that was shatterproof and would pop out when hit. But isn't that what seatbelts are for, I hear you ask? Incredibly, only the early Tucker cars featured seatbelts, because one of Tucker's assistants later convinced him that having seatbelts made the cars appear less safe to customers, and so they were deleted for later production. The rotary engine. We're all huge fans of the rotary engine, but unfortunately it has too many disadvantages to be considered for the mainstream. These include poor thermal efficiency, the fact they're difficult to keep sealed during combustion, and because they burn oil and have sky-high emissions. Now sure, we really do love them for their different approach to suck, squeeze, bang, blow, but until manufacturers like Mazda make them more efficient and reliable, rotaries will remain another awesome car technology that never properly took off. Modular bodywork. In 1982, Italdesign revealed its unique capsular concept car. It was essentially a chassis with wheels, an engine, suspension, and a host of other essentials. Where it gets interesting is that above all of these parts was a capsule cabin that could be swapped easily for different designs. The idea was that one chassis could serve a wide variety of body styles, from vans to low-slung sports cars that could be swapped out easily, providing flexibility for the owner. What awesome new technology would you invent for use in production cars? As always, funniest comments gets a shout out at the end of the next video. And now the funniest comments from the last video, because you're pretty much a racing driver. Oh wait, the other guy was a racing driver. Because Alex's head is so damn air diademic with that bald head, capital P. Alex would have won in the R34 because his big beacon forehead would have pulled the R35 back. You would have won because your mum's a settee. No offense.